Estimating successfully. There are many techniques used for successful estimating. In the book Keys to Successful Estimating, written by Steve Griffin, who's an author, master estimator, and software designer of the first choice electrical estimating software, it covers most of these successful approaches. It's a great book to have in your estimating library. Some of the information we will cover in this webinar has been legally taken from that book. You will learn over time that one approach works better for estimating certain jobs, while another approach may work better for others. Estimating is generally broken down into easy to understand sections. Review. When starting a new project, make sure that you at least have all of the sheets that apply to your trade, a specifications manual, and copies of all addenda and changes. If possible, request the mechanical and architectural drawings in addition to the electrical prints, as some items on these drawings can affect your price. Start by reviewing the entire set of plans before you begin. Record the scale and check it twice. Many jobs have been missed by using the wrong scale. By reviewing the architectural plans first, you will gain a better understanding of the intention of the building. This will allow you to create a more accurate estimate. Notice the engineer's name of who stamped the drawings and record it. Oftentimes, the engineer will use a standardized set of specifications. This will allow you to become familiar with what a particular engineer's special needs are, making it easier to review the specifications. Make special notes of who pays utility fees, of minimum size raceways, fitting types, raceways allowed, device types, temp lights and power, grouping of home runs, deadlines, and liquidated damages, etc., etc. You get the idea. Read the general conditions in the specifications book and in the bidding instructions if applicable. These often contain information that can greatly increase your price. Look for information on scale wages, night work, work in occupied spaces, and bond premiums or requirements. Include the cost of these items in your price. Pay close attention to the instructions to bidders. I have seen many low quotes thrown out simply because they didn't follow the instructions to the bidders. Filling out an envelope should be simple. Don't alter the instructions. If they ask for an item to be first, make it first. If they ask for a bid package number, include it. Visit the site. Sometimes the existing conditions play a major factor in a bid. I once encountered a run of conduit that was only 100 feet in length. Seems like a very routine installation, right? Well, when I actually visited the site, the plans didn't mention that it was to be installed under an existing lake. Highlight points of interest as well on the drawings, such as firewalls, etc. Material. Material consists of the components that it takes to install the project, such as conduit, wire, fittings, devices, boxes, screws, plates, plaster rings, straps, wire nuts, etc. For this illustration, material is considered to be the items it takes to install the work as shown on the plans. For definition, material can be called rough-in material, even though some of the products will be used for trim-out. The material list may be priced in several ways. A complete list may be sent to a supply house for current pricing. You may have an in-house pricing sheet that your material is priced by. You may subscribe to a pricing service. You may use software and rely on the stored prices, or use a service such as NetPricer in conjunction with software for instant real-time pricing. Here's a tip. Make sure that you spell out the specific material as asked for in the specifications. Some of the items we always look for are fitting types, set screw, compression and die cast steel, device and plate type, a minimum raceway size, rigid 90s versus PVC 90s for slab work, is MC cable allowed, GFI covers, these range from just a few dollars to several $100s, is grouping of home runs allowed, general duty or heavy duty disconnects. Quotes. Quotes are products that will be purchased for the project, usually in packages. On most jobs, there will be a lighting package and a gear package. Other than design and build projects where you are in control of all material, you will be guided by a lighting schedule and the specifications which dictate which lights are quoted. The gear will be dictated by the panel schedule and the specifications. Some things to consider when asking for quotes. When turning in a request for a lighting quote, make sure that you include a copy of the lighting schedule, specifications, and your counts. And here's a tip: make sure that you include a note on your request for lighting that all trims, bulbs, and any hangers needed for installing the fixtures be included in the quote. I can't tell you how many times the low quote didn't end up being low. Oh, you mean you actually wanted the hangers needed to install the lights? Bulbs? You didn't mention bulbs. When turning in a request for gear quote, make sure that you include a copy of the panel schedule, specifications, and your counts. And here's a tip: some supply houses will include the disconnects, starters, time clocks, and contactors in the gear price, and some will appear low but including them in the rough-in material. Some supply houses will only quote the gear that is shown on the one line diagram. Also, make sure that the correct AIC ratings are being quoted. It is of great importance that you are specific and consistent in your request. I personally insist that the disconnects, starters, time clocks, and all of the gear be quoted in the gear quote every time. Disconnects, etc. are cheaper as a package than quoted alone, and don't forget the fuses. They never include fuses if they can sneak it by. If possible, have your supply house quote individual prices on your lighting fixtures along with individual pricing on your gear package. Ensure them that you will take all or none and that you want to cherry pick the package. If you can establish this in the beginning, you will be ahead of the game when items are added or deleted. Labor or man hours. Labor is the time it takes to install the material on a given project. Man hours are constantly the most misunderstood part of estimating. When a project can be completed in a couple of weeks, it is easy to visualize it will take 1 day for this function and 2 days for that function. But when a project takes several months or longer, it becomes much more difficult. A way to achieve this is to assign a man hour to each product installed. This takes much of the guesswork out of the process. It is close to an absolute that the material to do a function will be reasonably the same for everyone. Once the material list is established, a man hour is placed by each item. In this table here, you can see the material on the left, example man hours down the middle column, and then extended out based on the quantity. Man hours will be explained in detail in future chapters, but the idea of associating each item with a time is to give you a solid starting point. It is the accumulation of man hours that works for the complete project. One specific item may seem too low or too high, but it is the total man hours for the project that you should be most concerned about. By using this method, you establish a constant bidding pattern. In this example, the total time added up to 123.41 man hours. This equals one man working 123.41 hours, or 15.42 8-hour days, two men working 7.7 8-hour days, or 3 men working 5.1 8-hour days, or 4 men working 3.8 8-hour days. Here's another tip. Over the years, no matter how good the employees are, 2 people will not do twice the work of 1 person. 4 people will not perform twice as much work as 2 people, etc. Oftentimes, you will need to hire other companies to complete your scope of work. Some examples of these times could be a fire alarm contractor, a security contractor, cable, fiber, or telephone contractors, a data contractor, or perhaps excavation, backhoe, trenching, tamping, crane and operator contractors, bucket trucks. Well, you get the idea. And here's a tip. When a systems contractor gives you a price, sometimes it will be turnkey, and other times it may be what is referred to as parts and smarts. In most states, you would not include tax on the labor portion of the quote. Have your quote broken down material and labor. Most times you would only add tax to the material side of their quote. And now miscellaneous or other costs. These are real costs to the project that are not necessarily shown on the drawings, and some of these may include permits, temporary lights, temporary power, utility charges or lost time, storage and job trailers, a temporary office, cleanup, bonds, plans, lifts, scaffolding, tie wire to independently suspend fixtures when needed. Overhead and profit. So far we have addressed the raw cost of material and labor. Once you arrive at the raw cost of a project, the next step is to add overhead. Overhead is the cost of doing business. This is covered in detail in our book entitled Steps to a Successful Business: How to Start or Improve Your Business. The final step is to add profit and submit your bid. Submitting your bid. Follow all instructions to bidders. I can't emphasize this enough. Whenever possible, clarify your scope of work in detail. Make sure you qualify as much as is practical. Include your terms of payment. Qualify that work to be performed during normal working hours only. List items you will be including. Is there an underground or overhead service? The size of the service. Wiring is to be per NEC requirements. And pricing is valid for 45 days from proposal date. Change orders to be priced at. You get the idea. These are all important things to detail out. Also, include your exclusions. All concrete, for example, painting and patching, utility fees, engineering fees. In some cases, you will only be able to present a dollar amount with no exclusions. You will be bound to perform the work as indicated by the working drawings and specifications, including all addendums. Now let's summarize. The following phases make up the estimate: the material, the quotes, your labor, any subquotes, miscellaneous, overhead and profit, and then submitting the bid. In the following chapters, you will learn the art of each of these phases. In today's age, most successful contractors utilize the use of estimating software. We will cover the use of computer estimating in depth, but we feel you should know how to estimate by pen and paper first. Out of all the electrical estimating software titles we have tested, the Best Bid electrical estimating software wins hands down. Check it out at www.bestbidestimating.com. Watch a complete overview of the Best Bid at www.bestbidestimating.com/x.html, or register for one of the great webinars for an even better look. Thanks for watching.